The great assembly chamber floated in space like a giant crystal. It orbited around the gas giant Prime, where storms larger than entire planets swirled in endless patterns. Inside the chamber, 12 beings sat around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. These were the rulers of the galaxy, the Council of 12 who controlled thousands of star systems. High Arbiter moved first. Her body was made of pure energy, shifting between colors like a living rainbow. She had ruled for over 3,000 years and thought herself very wise. The other council members respected her, though some also feared her power. Today, she looked troubled as she studied the reports floating in front of her. "Tell me again about these humans," she said, her voice echoing like music in the chamber. War Marshal leaned forward. His scaled green skin caught the light as his yellow eyes focused on the data. His people were warriors who had conquered many worlds before joining the council. He trusted his weapons more than his words. The scouts found them in a small system near the outer rim. They call their world Earth. The beings are mammals that walk on 2 legs. "Mammals," repeated Scholar Primel. Her insect-like head tilted as thousands of compound eyes studied the information. She spoke for millions of minds connected as one. "How primitive. Most mammals never develop beyond simple tool use." Waved her hand and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed a blue and green planet with white clouds. Small metal objects moved around it in simple orbits. Their technology appears basic. Chemical rockets, nuclear power, electromagnetic communications. They remind me of the when we first found them 500 years ago. The other council members made sounds of agreement. The now served the hegemony as miners and factory workers. They had learned their place quickly. "Have they detected our scout ships?" asked council member, whose crystal body chimed like bells when he spoke. "No," replied. "Our stealth technology is far beyond their sensors. We could observe them for years without discovery. They seem focused on their own system, very limited space travel." Studied the human world more closely. Cities covered much of the land, connected by lines of transportation. The energy readings showed they burned fossil fuels and split atoms for power. They multiply quickly for mammals. Population over 7 billion. "That could be useful," said council member, whose plant-like form swayed gently. "Large populations make good worker species." Scholar Prime accessed her vast memory banks. "I have records of 347 mammalian species we have contacted. Most joined the hegemony within 50 standard years. Those that resisted were convinced." The table fell quiet. Everyone remembered the resistance wars from long ago. Some species had tried to fight the hegemony's expansion. It never ended well for them. "What do our analysts suggest?" asked. Activated another display. "Standard first contact protocol. We send a guidance fleet to their system. 50 ships should be enough to demonstrate our power. We offer them protection and technology in exchange for resources and loyalty." "And if they refuse?" asked. "They always refuse at first," said with something like a laugh. "Then they see our ships and understand reality." Considered this. The hegemony had used this approach for thousands of years. It worked because it was simple. Show overwhelming force, offer rewards for cooperation, and hint at consequences for resistance. Most species chose the smart path. "Very well," "Prepare your guidance fleet. Make sure they see ships from several different hegemony species. Humans should understand they would be joining something vast and powerful." The War Marshal's teeth showed as he smiled. "My people will lead the fleet. They can provide support ships, and the Morphic Collective can send their bio-vessels. 50 ships from different species will make the point clear." "What about their military?" asked another council member. Laughed, a sound like grinding stone. "They fight each other with chemical explosives and metal projectiles. Their largest weapons split atoms. Against our energy shields and plasma weapons, they might as well throw rocks." Scholar Prime L consulted her data again. Their largest military vessels are less than half a kilometer long, made of simple steel and aluminum alloys, no energy weapons detected, no force fields, no faster-than-light travel. Pathetic, muttered Council Member Vex, whose shadow-like form rarely spoke. How did such primitives even reach space? The same way they all do, answered. Slowly, with great effort, using whatever materials they can find. At least they got off their planet. That shows some intelligence. The hologram changed to show the humans simple space stations and moon colonies. Everything looked crude and functional, built from metal and glass like ancient artifacts. No grace, no elegance, no understanding of advanced materials or energy manipulation. I almost feel sorry for them, said. They try so hard with so little. Better to bring them into civilization before they hurt themselves, decided. Or send the fleet. Follow standard protocols. Arrive at the edge of their system, broadcast the standard welcome message, give them time to respond. And if they try to fight, or asked hopefully, disable their weapons without destroying their cities. We want workers, not corpses, but make sure they understand the difference in our capabilities. Understood, or began planning the mission in his head. 50 ships would gather at the staging point near station. They would jump to the human system together, a show of coordinated power that usually ended resistance before it started. How long until the fleet can depart? Asked. 3 cycles. We need time to gather ships from different systems and coordinate the jump. Excellent, Scholar Prime, prepare the standard integration package. Language translation, basic technology transfers, cultural orientation materials. The usual. L's thousands of eyes glittered. Already prepared. I have packages for carbon-based mammalian species with nuclear-age technology. Very standard. Was pleased. Another primitive species would join the hegemony. Their resources would feed the great machine of galactic civilization. Their people would find purpose serving their betters, and the galaxy would be a little more orderly. This concludes our business regarding the humans, or report back when contact is established. As the council members began to fade from the chamber, returning to their home worlds through quantum communications, remained. She studied the image of Earth one more time. Such a pretty little world. Soon its people would understand how small they really were in the vast galaxy. Like all the others before them, they would learn their place. She had no idea how wrong she was. Captain Sarah stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, watching the stars through the main viewport. The ship moved silently through space, its advanced engines making no sound. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Everything looked normal, but Sarah knew they were making history. Any word from the observation posts? She asked her communications officer. Lieutenant checked his console. Outpost 7 confirms the alien fleet is still gathering near the region. Estimated 50 vessels from multiple species. Sarah nodded. Humanity had been watching the galaxy for 30 years, ever since they developed stealth technology that could hide ships from alien sensors. While the aliens thought humans were primitive, Earth scientists had been studying every transmission, every ship movement, every piece of technology they could detect. Time until they reach our system? Sarah asked. 18 hours at their current speed, replied her navigator. Behind Sarah, Dr. James reviewed data on his tablet. He was Earth's leading expert on alien technology, though the aliens didn't know he existed. Their ships match our intelligence reports. Energy-based weapons, force field protection, faster-than-light travel, standard hegemony technology. But nothing we can't handle, Sarah said quietly. The bridge crew exchanged glances. They all knew what waited in the darkness beyond Jupiter's orbit. The secret humanity had spent decades building, hidden from alien sensors by technology the galaxy had never seen. Captain, called the communications officer, Message from Earth Command. Sarah walked over to the secure console. Admiral Martinez's face appeared on the screen, his expression serious. Sarah, the decision has been made. We proceed with Operation First Light. Understood, sir. The Prometheus is ready. Remember, we want them to see exactly what we choose to show them. Nothing more, nothing less. Yes, sir. The screen went dark. Sarah took a deep breath. 30 years of preparation had led to this moment. 30 years of watching, learning, and building. The aliens thought they knew everything about humanity. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Set course for the rendezvous point, Sarah ordered. Standard approach. The Prometheus turned toward Jupiter's orbit. As they moved, Sarah thought about the path that had brought them here. When Earth first detected alien signals, most people wanted to announce their presence immediately. The world's leaders had been wiser. They chose to watch and learn first. What they learned had been disturbing. The galaxy was controlled by an empire that absorbed new species like a machine. Some species joined willingly, trading freedom for protection. Others were forced to submit after demonstrations of overwhelming power. None remained truly independent. But the aliens had made one crucial mistake. They assumed all technology developed the same way they had evolved theirs. They focused on elegance, efficiency, and energy manipulation. They built small, graceful ships powered by advanced energy sources. Humanity had taken a different path. When brute force worked, humans used brute force. When something needed to be big to be effective, humans built it big. The aliens saw this as primitive thinking. They had no idea what humans could accomplish when they fully committed to an idea. Captain, called the sensor operator. We're detecting movement near Saturn. Big movement. Sarah smiled. That's our escort taking position. Doctor looked up from his tablet. Do you think they'll really be shocked? Their technology is impressive. James, you've studied their ships for years. What's the largest vessel in their fleet? The Hegemony flagship is 8 kilometers long. It's considered a marvel of engineering. Sarah's smile grew wider. Then yes, I think they'll be shocked. Hours passed as the Prometheus approached the rendezvous point. The crew prepared for first contact, checking translation systems and diplomatic protocols. Everything had been planned down to the smallest detail. Incoming transmission, announced the communications officer. Multiple sources, broadcasting on all frequencies. Let's hear it, Sarah said. The alien voices filled the bridge, translated by Earth's computers. The message was exactly what they had expected. Standard demands for submission, offers of protection, barely veiled threats. The tone was condescending, like adults speaking to children. Primitive mammals of Earth, the translation continued. You will submit to the authority of the galactic hegemony. Prepare for integration into our glorious civilization. Resistance will result in the destruction of your species. Sarah shook her head. They really don't change their script, do they? Shall I respond, Captain? Asked. Use the prepared message, Channel 7. Activated the transmitter. Sarah spoke clearly into the microphone, knowing her words would reach 50 alien warships and eventually the Galactic Council itself. This is Captain Sarah of the United Earth ship Prometheus. We welcome the chance to meet with representatives of galactic civilization. You are invited to attend a diplomatic meeting at the following coordinates. We will provide appropriate accommodations for our discussion. Sarah paused, letting the words sink in. We look forward to showing you what humanity has to offer. The transmission ended. On the alien ships, Sarah knew commanders would be analyzing every word, trying to understand why the primitive humans sounded so confident. Captain, said the sensor operator, the alien fleet is changing course. They're heading for our coordinates. Excellent. How long until they arrive? 6 hours. Sarah nodded. Signal the Leviathan. Tell them to prepare for on my command. Doctor looked nervous. Are you sure about this approach? We could start with something smaller. James, we've run the simulations 1,000 times. If we want to be taken seriously, we need to make an impression they'll never forget. Sarah walked to the main viewport and stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 50 alien warships were approaching Earth's system, confident in their superior technology and ancient authority. They thought they were coming to intimidate another primitive species. They had no idea they were about to meet humanity's greatest creation, the ship that would change everything, the weapon so massive that it redefined what was possible in space warfare. Sarah felt a mix of excitement and worry. First contact would determine humanity's future in the galaxy. Either Earth would be accepted as an equal, or the galaxy would learn what humans were capable of when threatened. All stations, prepare for alien arrival. This is it, people. Today we show the galaxy that humanity is not some primitive species to be conquered. Today they learn what we've really been building out here. As the alien fleet approached, hidden sensors throughout the solar system tracked their movements. On Earth, billions of people watched and waited. In the darkness beyond Jupiter, something vast and powerful began to wake up. The aliens thought they were coming to subdue another weak species. Instead, they were walking into humanity's carefully prepared demonstration of strength. And when they saw what waited for them in the darkness, the balance of power in the galaxy would shift forever. The hegemony fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system. 50 ships appeared in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with energy shields and advanced armor. War Marshal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the dominant Fang, and smiled with satisfaction. "Scan the system," he ordered. "Find their defensive positions." His sensor operator worked quickly, but the results confused him. "Sir, I'm detecting minimal military presence. A few small orbital stations around their planet, some mining operations in the asteroid belt, nothing that could threaten us." Or's smile grew wider. "Exactly what I expected. These mammals have no idea what real military power looks like." The fleet moved deeper into the human system, their sensors sweeping everything they passed. The human colonies on Mars and the Moon were small and primitive. Their space stations were built from simple metals, spinning slowly to create artificial gravity. Everything confirmed that humanity was exactly what they appeared to be, a young species barely capable of basic. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we received a response to our demands." "Play it." The bridge filled with a human voice, speaking in a calm, confident tone that surprised everyone present. The translator converted the words into their language. "This is Captain Sarah of the United Earth ship Prometheus. We welcome the chance to meet with representatives of galactic civilization. You are invited to attend a diplomatic meeting at the following coordinates." Or listen to the rest of the message, his eyes narrowing. The human sounded too calm, too sure of herself. Most primitive species responded to first contact with fear or desperate attempts at negotiation. This human acted like she was inviting guests to dinner. "They want to meet near the gas giant," reported his navigator. "Of course they do," Or said. "They think hiding near a planet will protect them. How touching." The fleet changed course toward Jupiter, maintaining their intimidating formation. Other ship commanders contacted or on secure channels, all expressing similar thoughts. The humans seemed remarkably calm for a species facing conquest. "Perhaps they don't understand what we're offering them," suggested Captain Eth from the support vessel Cosmic Harmony. "Some species need time to process first contact. Or perhaps they're simply too primitive to comprehend their situation," replied Commander, or from the bioship Living Weapon. "Mammals often have limited cognitive abilities." As they approached Jupiter, their sensors began detecting strange readings, energy patterns that didn't match anything in their databases. The signatures were massive but somehow hidden, as if something enormous was concealed nearby. "Sir," said the sensor operator, sounding worried, "I'm picking up gravitational anomalies near Jupiter's orbit. Something large is affecting local space-time." Or frowned. "Large? How define large?" "Sir, the readings suggest something with the mass of a small moon, but our visual scans show empty space." "Impossible. Nothing that massive could hide from our sensors." But even as Orr spoke, he felt a chill of uncertainty. The gravitational readings were unmistakable. Something was out there, something his instruments couldn't fully detect. "Fleet, maintain formation but activate all defensive systems," he ordered. "Something isn't right here." The 50 hegemony ships spread into a combat formation, their energy shields brightening and weapons charging. Around them, empty space seemed to watch and wait. Then reality changed. The stars themselves seemed to bend as something impossible appeared before them. Space twisted, light warped, and suddenly the alien fleet was facing something that shouldn't exist. The UHSV Leviathan materialized out of nothing. For several seconds, no one on any alien ship could speak. Their instruments screamed warnings as they tried to process what they were seeing. The human vessel was so large that it didn't fit on their tactical displays, so massive that it generated its own gravitational field, so advanced that their sensors couldn't identify half the materials in its construction. "By the ancient stars," whispered Captain Eth, how big is that thing?" Orr's tactical computer finally managed to provide numbers. Length, 47 kilometers. Width, 12 kilometers. Height, 8 kilometers. Mass, approximately equal to a small asteroid. "That's impossible," Orr said, but his voice was weak. Nothing that large could function as a spacecraft. The Leviathan hung in space like a metal mountain. Its hull was covered with structures that understanding. Energy patterns flowed across its surface like living things. Weapons systems larger than entire hegemony ships tracked the alien fleet with casual precision. "Sir," stammered the sensor operator, "the energy readings. The power source alone is putting out more energy than a small star." "What kind of power source could?" "Sir, incoming transmission from the human vessel." Captain Sarah's voice filled the bridge again, still calm and confident. "Welcome to the Sol system, representatives of the galactic hegemony. We understand you wish to discuss terms." Or stared at the massive human ship and tried to make sense of what he was seeing. His fleet of 50 vessels looked like toys next to the human giant. His flagship, the pride of his people's navy, was a tiny speck compared to just one section of the Leviathan's hull. "How," he whispered, "how did they build something like this?" His science officer worked frantically at her console. "Sir, I'm analyzing the hull composition. These materials, some of them don't exist in our periodic tables. They're using elements we've never seen before. And the energy signatures suggest they've somehow contained stellar fusion reactions," added the sensor operator. "They're literally powering that ship with artificial suns." Around the fleet, other commanders were reaching the same horrifying realization. Every assumption they had made about humanity was wrong. This wasn't a primitive species struggling with basic technology. This was a civilization that had solved engineering problems the hegemony considered impossible. "Sir," called the communications officer, his voice shaking, "Captain is requesting permission to come aboard for negotiations." Or looked at his tactical display, where the Leviathan's massive bulk dominated everything. His entire fleet could fit inside just one of the human ship's launch bays. "Sir, what are your orders?" For the first time in his long military career, War Marshal Orr had no idea what to do. Every battle strategy he knew assumed his opponents would be smaller and weaker. He had never planned for fighting something that could probably destroy his entire fleet without taking damage. "Open a channel to the human ship," he said finally. "This is War Marshal Orr of the Galactic Hegemony," he began, trying to keep his voice steady. "We, We accept your invitation to negotiate." As he spoke, Or's eyes remained fixed on the Leviathan. Somewhere deep in his mind, he understood that everything had just changed. The hegemony had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years because their technology was superior to everyone else's. But the humans had just demonstrated technology that made the hegemony look primitive. "Excellent," Captain replied. "We'll provide transportation to our ship. Please prepare a small delegation. I think you'll find our accommodations adequate." As Or prepared to board the human vessel, he sent an urgent message back to the Galactic Council. 3 words that would shake the foundations of their empire. "We were wrong." High Arbiter was reviewing economic reports from the outer sectors when the emergency signal reached her. The crystal chamber around her filled with urgent red light as the quantum communicator activated. War Marshal Or's image appeared above the council table, but something was wrong with his usual confidence. "High Arbiter," Or began, his voice strained. "I need to speak with the full council immediately." "The council is not scheduled to meet for another cycle," replied. "Can this not wait?" "No, you need to see this now." The urgency in his voice made her pause. Or was a warrior who had conquered dozens of worlds. She had never heard fear in his voice before. "Very well, I will summon the others." Within minutes, the council members began appearing as energy projections around the circular table. Scholar Prime L materialized first, her thousands of eyes blinking in confusion. Council member chimed softly as his crystal form took shape. One by one, the rulers of the galaxy assembled. Or report, commanded once everyone was present. "The humans are not what we thought they were," he said without introduction. "What do you mean?" asked, her plant-like form swaying with concern. Instead of answering, Or activated a holographic display. The image showed empty space, then suddenly something appeared that made every council member fall silent. The Leviathan filled the display, its massive hull stretching beyond the edges of the projection. Weapons larger than battleships tracked across its surface. Energy patterns flowed like rivers of light, and dwarfed beside it, looking like insects, was the entire hegemony fleet. "This," Or said quietly, "is one human warship." For long moments, no one spoke. Scholar Prime L was the first to break the silence. "The scale readings must be wrong. I ran diagnostics 5 times. The readings are correct. That ship is 47 kilometers long." "Impossible," whispered council member. "No species builds vessels that large." "The humans do," Or replied, "and that's not the worst part." He changed the display to show technical readings. Energy outputs, material compositions, weapon signatures. The numbers made no sense. "They're using stellar fusion for power," Or continued. "Not stellar energy collection, actual controlled fusion reactions. They've built artificial suns inside that ship." Stared at the display, her energy form flickering with distress. "How many crew does such a vessel require?" "Over 2 million beings, based on the energy consumption patterns." 2 million, repeated in horror. "That's larger than most planetary populations." Scholar Prime L accessed her vast databases, searching for any reference to such technology. No species in galactic history has ever built anything like this. The power requirements alone would drain entire star systems. "Unless," said Council Member Vex quietly, "they've solved problems we gave up trying to solve." The table fell into uncomfortable silence. For thousands of years, the hegemony species had developed technology based on elegance and efficiency. They built small, graceful ships powered by advanced energy manipulation. They had long ago abandoned brute force approaches as primitive and wasteful. "Show us their hull composition analysis," ordered. And the readings made the situation worse. 60% of their hull is made from materials not in our databases, elements that shouldn't be stable, alloys that violate what we know about metallic bonds. They've created new elements, Scholar Prime L said with something approaching awe. They're manipulating matter at the atomic level in ways we never imagined. There's more, or continued grimly. My science teams detected quantum signatures suggesting this isn't the only ship of its class. How many more? Asked. Unknown, but the quantum resonance patterns indicate at least 12 similar vessels in various star systems. The revelation hit the Council like a physical blow. 12 ships like the Leviathan would be capable of challenging the entire hegemony fleet. The military balance of the galaxy had just shifted overnight. Have they made any demands? Asked. That's what makes this even more disturbing, or replied. They haven't threatened us at all. Their captain invited us aboard for negotiations. She's treating this like a diplomatic meeting between equals. Equals? Repeated the word like it was poison. Council member Vex leaned forward. Perhaps they don't understand their advantage. No, or said firmly. They understand exactly what they have. I can see it in their captain's eyes. They know they've made us irrelevant. Scholar Prime L ran calculations through her networked minds. If they possess even half the technology this ship represents, they could destroy our civilization. Why haven't they? The question hung in the air like a threat. The hegemony had conquered the galaxy through superior technology and overwhelming force. They had never shown mercy to species that could threaten them. Why would humans be different? What do they want? Asked. To join galactic civilization as equals, or replied. They want trade agreements, cultural exchange, mutual defense pacts. They're offering to share some of their technology. Share their technology, repeated, after we sent a fleet to conquer them. They don't seem to hold grudges, or said, but they also made it very clear that they won't be conquered. Their exact words were, humanity looks forward to joining the galactic community as equal partners. Equal partners. The word struck fear into every council member. The hegemony didn't have equal partners. They had client species, servant races, and conquered worlds. The entire structure of their empire was based on technological and military superiority. Can we destroy them? Asked council member speaking for the first time. Or was quiet for a long moment. I ran combat simulations during the trip to their system. Our combined fleet might be able to damage one of their ships. Might. But they have 12 or more, and we have no idea what other weapons they possess. And, added Scholar Prime L, any species that can build ships like that probably has defensive technology we can't imagine. Felt the weight of 3,000 years pressing down on her. She had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. She had watched species evolve from primitive to spacefaring peoples. But she had never encountered a species that could threaten the hegemony itself. What are our options? She asked. The council considered this in silence. Their choices were limited and none of them were pleasant. We could accept their terms, suggested. Join them as equals and hope they remain peaceful. Unthinkable, snapped council member. The hegemony doesn't bow to primitives. These primitives have technology that makes us look like children playing with toys, or reminded him. We could try to steal their technology, offered. From a ship with 2 million crew members and weapons that could destroy planets. Scholar Prime L's tone made her opinion clear. Absorbed the arguments but already knew the truth. The galaxy had changed today. The hegemony's age of unchallenged dominance was over. They could accept the new reality or be swept aside by it. Or, she said finally, accept their invitation. Learn everything you can about their capabilities and intentions. And if they demand changes to how we operate. Looked around the table at the other council members. Fear, confusion, and anger reflected back at her. But beneath it all was the understanding that they no longer held all the cards. Then we listen very carefully to what they say. War marshal or had fought on 100 battlefields, but walking through the corridors of the Leviathan made him feel smaller than he ever had in combat. The human ship was so vast that it took 20 minutes just to travel from the docking bay to the meeting area. During that journey, he saw things that would haunt his dreams. Entire sections of the ship were dedicated to manufacturing, with factories that could build spacecraft the size of his flagship. Research laboratories filled with equipment he couldn't identify. Weapons testing ranges that stretched for kilometers. And everywhere, humans working calmly as if building miracles was normal for them. "Impressive, isn't it?" asked Captain, walking beside the alien delegation. "The Leviathan took us 8 years to build. She's not our largest ship, but she was our first successful Titan-class vessel." Not their largest ship, or try not to think about what that meant. They entered what Captain called the Central Park, or stopped walking entirely. Above them stretched a dome of transparent metal 8 kilometers across. Inside was a complete earth forest, with trees that reached hundreds of meters into artificial sky. Animals moved through the undergrowth, birds flew overhead, and streams flowed between rolling hills. "This ecosystem alone is larger than most space stations," whispered Captain Eth. "We believe long-term space travel requires natural environments," Captain explained. "This park supports over 50,000 different Earth species. The crew and their families live in cities built around forests like this one." Families. The aliens realized that humans didn't just crew these ships, they lived on them. Entire civilizations existed inside each vessel. They reached the meeting area, a comfortable room overlooking the forest. Captain gestured for them to sit at a circular table made from polished wood. Other humans joined them, introducing themselves as diplomats, scientists, and military advisors. "Now then," Captain began, "I understand there was some confusion about humanity's place in galactic civilization." Or found his voice. "Your technology, it's far beyond what our scouts reported." "Yes, we noticed your observation posts," Captain said with a smile. "Quite good stealth technology, by the way. We only detected them because we were specifically looking." The aliens exchanged glances. Their undetectable scout ships had been compromised for years. "Why didn't you reveal your capabilities earlier?" asked Captain Eth. "We wanted to learn about galactic civilization before making contact. Your hegemony has an interesting history." Doctor activated a holographic display showing the galaxy. Red areas marked hegemony territory, which covered most of known space. "We studied your expansion patterns, your integration methods, your military capabilities. Very thorough empire building. But we noticed something troubling," Captain continued. "Every species that joins your hegemony eventually loses its independence. They become client races, serving the interests of the more powerful founding species. That system has brought peace to the galaxy for thousands of years," or said defensively. "Peace through submission isn't really peace," Doctor replied. "It's just organized oppression." The room fell silent. No one had ever spoken to hegemony representatives like this. Captain leaned forward. "Humanity proposes a different approach. True partnerships between equals, mutual cooperation without domination, shared defense without conquest." "And if we refuse?" or asked. "Then you refuse," Captain said simply. "We won't force you to change, but we also won't submit to your authority. You would fight the entire hegemony." "If necessary, but we'd prefer to find a peaceful solution." Doctor activated another display showing technical specifications. "We're prepared to share certain technologies with willing partners. Medical advances, energy systems, agricultural improvements, things that benefit everyone." Or studied the data and felt his breath catch. The humans were offering technology that could solve resource problems throughout the galaxy, energy systems that could power entire worlds, medical treatments that could extend by centuries. "What do you want in return?" he asked. Recognition as an independent, sovereign species, Captain replied. The right to maintain our own territory and govern ourselves, and gradual reform of the hegemony system to allow other species more autonomy. You want to change how we've operated for. We want to offer a better way, cooperation instead of conquest, partnership instead of domination. Captain Eth spoke carefully, and if the Council refuses these terms. Captain stood and walked to the window overlooking the forest. Then nothing changes, and we remain in our territory while you remain in yours. But Captain, look around you. This ship represents just a fraction of human capabilities. We're offering to share this technology freely. Or you could try to take it by force, Doctor added quietly. But I should mention that this conversation is being broadcast live to 12 other Titan-class vessels positioned throughout the galaxy. The aliens felt a chill. Humans hadn't just hidden one impossible ship. They had positioned a fleet of them strategically, ready for whatever came next. We're not conquerors, Captain continued, but we're also not victims. Humanity is offering the galaxy a choice: evolve into something better or continue down the same path while we remain apart. Back in the Crystal Assembly Chamber, the full Galactic Council watched the broadcast in stunned silence. High Arbiter studied the human ship specifications, the offered technologies, and the implications of 12 Titan-class vessels scattered throughout their territory. They could destroy us, Council member said quietly. But they're offering to help us instead, replied. Scholar Prime L ran calculations through her networked minds. Their technology could solve resource shortages, extend, and increase the quality of life throughout the galaxy. The only cost is giving up our absolute authority. Impossible, snapped Council member. The hegemony doesn't negotiate with primitives. These primitives have weapons that could turn our home worlds into debris, Or's voice came through the communicator. And they're being more reasonable than we deserve. Considered everything she had seen and heard. 3,000 years of hegemony rule were being challenged by a species they had dismissed as primitive mammals. But these mammals had built miracles and were offering to share them. What are your recommendations, Or? She asked. Accept their terms, all of them, because the alternative is eventually facing 12 ships like this one in combat and we would lose. The Council debated for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. Humanity held all the advantages but was offering peaceful coexistence instead of conquest. To refuse would be both foolish and potentially suicidal. Very well, announced. The galactic hegemony accepts humanity's proposal for equal partnership. On the Leviathan, Captain smiled and shook Or's scaled hand. Excellent. We look forward to working together. As the alien delegation prepared to return to their ships, Doctor handed them a data crystal. Medical technologies to start with. Treatments for genetic diseases, life extension procedures, neural enhancement techniques. Consider it a gesture of good faith. Months later, the first human ambassadors arrived at Hegemony Worlds. The technology they shared transformed entire civilizations. Former client species began asserting their independence, backed by human support. The rigid hierarchy of the old hegemony slowly gave way to a confederation of equals. High Arbiter stood in her private chambers, looking out at the construction of humanity's first diplomatic station in hegemony space. The structure was built using human engineering principles, massive, powerful, and impossibly advanced. She opened her personal journal and wrote a single line. Today we learned that sometimes the biggest threats come from those we underestimate, and sometimes the best gifts come from those we try to conquer. In the depths of space, the Titan-class vessels maintained their silent patrol. Humanity had taken its place among the stars not through conquest, but through the simple demonstration that some civilizations were too strong to subjugate and too generous to fear. The galaxy would never be the same.